The following is intended for mature audiences only.
Welcome to the news from Lalaland podcast. Yeah! Welcome to the news from Lalaland, where two siblings with a strange and sheltered past share their story through pop culture, philosophy,
Apan krapiapatapiv napansapens.
Yapes, wapai habalapo napik sapakabal, hapo apri apritapadabe.
Alpha mapai gapad, wapi hapiv gapan bapak tapu tapakaping apan apapapi.
Wapir rapi gropest.
Alpha napo.
Anyway, now that we've talked in nonsense, I'm your host, Sarah Sokol, and this is my older brother, Nick, as always.
That's me. Hello.
Yes, we the language we were just speaking in was our brilliantly invented language that I'm sure none of you could understand previously.
Yeah, it's been known to be a little bit transparent sometimes, although Dad said he could never figure it out.
Yeah, we suspected that Mom could understand.
And now I suspect that Dad could too.
Really?
I don't know. But anyway, the premise of the language is kind of like Pig Latin, essentially, where you're taking the English language and you're throwing in some variations. It's just kind of a word game. So for the language Oppy, you throw in an op sound before every vowel sound. So not before every vowel, but every non-consonant, I should say.
I heard from, like, when we were in choir in middle school and stuff, some kids would say it was like Uggy Wuggy or something like that instead of Oppy. Like, they put different syllables.
There's
in
all
front
kinds
of
of
the vowels.
variations out there. There's Izzy, Uggy.
Yeah.
It's like, Hizalizo, Hizar, Yuzu Dizzy, Tizu Dizzy.
I find all of them, like, difficult except Oppy. I don't know why.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I feel like it's just sort of like a switch you can hit that flips you into that mode, and then I can just insert anything in there.
Because we're fluent. No.
Fluent and Oppy, yeah. I'm sure we drove our parents absolutely crazy talking in this way for hours and hours as a kid. We go whole days talking only in Oppy.
Yeah, we thought we were so clever.
Maybe just as a sort of a Oppy flex, since I think people are going to find this really cool.
I think they're going to be way more into this than we are, even.
Perhaps you should just do an easy example, like maybe say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Opits, sapapapakapalapa frappajapalapastopik, opix papiapalapadapashapas.
Aporapalapi.
Even though the sound of it is really quite atrocious.
Apotroposhapas. Okay, I think we have thoroughly discredited ourselves here. No, nothing.
What credit should we have had?
Well, we want people to listen, but now, what will they ever respect us for after this?
Perhaps our multiple degrees in music and medicine. That's mainly you.
Maybe if we talked in Oppy while riding on rollerblades, that would have made us a little cooler. That could have salvaged it.
Surely that would have had a visual component that the people of the podcast would be unable to appreciate.
Oh, good point. We could just say, and by the way, for the whole first 10 minutes of this podcast, we have been riding on rollerblades.
Backwards.
In mobile sound booths.
Also, I have slutty little ponytails.
Oh my lord. Well, what are we gonna talk about this episode? What's the kind of overall theme that's going to pervade the following?
We're talking about the overarching theme that's sort of been the glue of a lot of our growing up and a lot of our current day, I would say. Probably will be unsurprising to all of you. La música.
It's true. It's one of the most, I think I've mentioned before on the podcast that I've had like a variety of quite different interests that I've delved into quite passionately over the years. But the music is the one that pretty consistently from a young age has really just dominated all other interests, superseded everything else.
Yeah, and I feel like all of our family is pretty musical. But you definitely sort of took the cake. You play like every instrument that you could think of, And I guess I considered it my own passion to the same degree, but I think I was also in some sense following in your footsteps.
Yeah, we were coming out of a period where we had just been living together for the first 18 years of our lives, or 18 years of my life, and we're best friends through, most of that time. It just felt natural, like doing the same thing that I was doing. Was kind of a natural progression. Like, we're both into music. You went to music school. Now I'm going to go to music school.
Well, yeah, especially because we were in a band together. It just felt so natural, and I loved performing, and yeah.
We haven't talked about that band yet in this show. We were in a band in high school called Camaraderie, which is a super feel-good sounding name.
It was a super feel-good band. I feel like we did really well. We were really quite good together. We were successful. We got into the newspaper.
Yeah, we were locally famous with they made a little article about us, and we would travel the bluegrass festival circuit around Washington, Oregon, Idaho, sort of the Northwest.
Yeah, I think the most memorable one to me was the one in, is it the Gorge or George, Washington?
Both really different places. The Gorge is a massive arena that Lady Gaga plays at. And the other one is a tiny, tiny little town.
Yeah, I think we were in George, Washington.
Yeah, and it was funny because we played folk music. It wasn't really bluegrass. Some of it was bluegrass inspired, but I think we would have called it like progressive folk. I don't know. We were really into like Nickel Creek back then. And
Chris Thiele, he was like the hot guy, but also we always talked about how he looked like an alien.
yeah.
Sorry, Chris, if you're listening.
You are an alien, Chris. You're a musical alien.
Hot alien.
Oh my god. But yeah, my point is that we would go to bluegrass festivals was kind of like the happening scene as far as places to go play folk music for an audience that was fun in the area. So we would go to bluegrass festivals and kind of be the outsiders a little bit. We were talked to by some of the producers and stuff there saying like, we'd love to keep having you back here, but it needs to be a little more bluegrass.
Yeah, like all of us wanted to play interesting, music with different harmonies and kind of, we all liked different genres as well, and we wanted to tie in the saxophone and stuff.
Yeah, in hindsight, that was definitely pushing it.
Yeah, but it was fun. But yeah, we, there's a lot to talk about in our musical background, but also in how, music is obviously a huge part of pop culture. It has been for a long time. Our particular decade should have been the 90s, I believe. Should we delve into that a little bit? Some of the popular music in the 90s and our experience with that in today's pop culture moment?
Yeah, that sounds like a moment to me.
Pop culture moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about, I guess it would have been the era, the age at which most kids would have been getting into popular music and really be aware of that would probably be, well, in the late 90s and early 2000s for us then. So what artists were around in that time doing awesome or not so awesome stuff that we were not really aware of?
Well, it's got to be like Destiny's Child. It's got to be pretty high on the list, right?
I think Nickelback was in there.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
But everyone hates Nickelback, even though I've only
Aren't
ever
you
heard...
sad that we missed that?
I've only ever heard the one line from the one song that's like, look at this photograph!
It's kind of a meme now. Well, everyone hates Nickelback, but a large percentage of those people have to be lying.
Because he's so popular.
They sold a lot of albums.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it was more acceptable in the 90s than we remember.
On this little list of artists from Billboard that I put up here.
Yeah, please share more, because I don't know when artists are from. I discovered them all in the 2000s.
I'm still talking about Nickelback here. I found their entry on the list. Here's a quote. "We've just accepted that we're never going to be the critics' darlings." Lead singer Chad Kroeger told Billboard in 2007, and we're okay with that.
They're the bad boys of pop culture.
Yeah. Is that really how he saw himself? Because I think the way Nickelback is perceived now is that they're the most, like, milk toast, white bread, cheese ball of the rock world.
Well, isn't there kind of, would you say Green Day is from the 90s too, or is that a different?
Yeah, that's like punk, or that might be 2000s also.
I don't know. I feel like there's this sort of component of this type of angry music where they say like, scared the living shit out of me, or something that's like kind of edgy where they're saying a curse word and they say it like they're aware that they're being edgy. There's just sort of this like weird culture of like not being edgy at all while at the same time presenting as edgy.
Yeah, no, I get that. We gotta throw a few more names out there. Linkin Park. Yes.
Oh yeah, they do the same thing, right?
Backstreet Boys?
Sad story about Linkin Park though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the lead singer killed himself a little while ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And it suddenly like, now I listen back to some of those songs and I'm like, damn.
When you say listen back, you mean like listen for the first time?
Yeah. But sometimes when I experience some of these songs for the first time, I'm like, damn.
No, I know about Linkin Park because, well, I had a friend who was into Linkin Park, and also that music was solidified into my ear when I used to go to a gym and lift weights where they would play Linkin Park and really emo rock all the time. And so, yeah. But you're right, though. Like, after, knowing that he committed suicide, it definitely puts a different spin on those lyrics.
Yeah.
Let's just go into a dark place.
Yeah, well, Backstreet Boys was next on the list, and I literally only know one Backstreet Boys song, I think. I always think it's Justin Timberlake in the Backstreet Boys.
I should know this.
But it's like, Backstreet's back, all right! And I always hear it in Justin Timberlake's voice, even if it's not him.
Justin Timberlake was in the Backstreet Boys.
All right, we have learned something. TIL, Justin Timberlake was in the Backstreet Boys.
Let's see. Alicia Keys, 50 Cent, Jay-Z. I don't know.
I feel like we wouldn't have heard of any of these until we were older, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I still have artists where, like, so I'll be with my wife in the car on a road trip. She'll turn the radio on and she'll start singing along with something. She'll know every word. And we've been together for over 10 years, like 12 years as a couple. And this is a song I've never heard before. And she'll know like every single word. And there's a lot of words to some of those 90s songs. And I'll be like, oh, wow.
Yeah, I feel like your wife has a vast musical knowledge as well. She listens to a lot of different variety and stuff.
She fills all my gaps, so to speak, musically. That was last episode, the gap filling.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Yeah, we're going to leave that in the past. But yeah, I agree with that. I feel like there's also, even before the 90s specifically, a lot of people still have experience with artists like, I don't know, Prince, who is just like a huge, iconic part of everyone's life, no matter how old they are. And I think the first time I ever listened to a Prince song, it was Purple Rain. And it was because some D&D players that I listened to a podcast of were talking about it. And I wanted to know what they were talking about. And then I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then it's like you're experiencing this whole new thing where you're like, Prince is amazing. Is everyone... Oh, everyone already know. Nobody wants to talk about this. Okay, all right. Oh, Prince is dead. Okay. Oh no.
Yeah, shit.
Are there any other notable people on the
Well,
list?
I will say that I actually knew about Michael Jackson.
Oh.
Only because he came up on the radio and our parents listened to like conservative talk radio and stuff. And there was stories about him with kids. And so I had some really negative ideas about Michael Jackson. I didn't really know anything else about him, his music, anything else. That's all I knew.
I remember thinking that about the whole Michael Jackson thing at the time. I was like, well, I don't know for sure, but surely people are more likely to just be against him because he's like weird and different and stuff. But then when now it comes out, of course, that based on that documentary, he probably was all true. I mean, it definitely was all true. And
Wow.
now I kind of
Yeah.
turn off the radio when he comes on, and so it kind of ruined him for me.
Yeah. There's some, I mean, there's a whole conversation actually to be had that's kind of interesting about should you still listen to the music, or can we still enjoy the art of people who were known to be moral monsters in some particular way? And in terms of Michael Jackson, I would say I tend to err on the side of yes, because if you go far enough back in history, everyone's a racist, and there's a lot of ways in which society has grown up. So you'd have to draw the line somewhere. And I guess I do draw the line at a point where let's say the art that you're consuming has to do with the reason that the person, I wouldn't read, I don't know, Hemingway had written a racist exposition or something like that. Well, I wouldn't read that. And when Michael Jackson sings PYT, I'm not going to listen to that one.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? But I would definitely listen to the rest of Michael Jackson's songs, I think, still. And I would read anything by Ernest Hemingway if he were, in fact, a racist. Which I don't actually know if he was or not.
Well, probably. I don't know. It's just such an individual thing for me because everyone has a different line. I know a lot of people who won't listen to Chris Brown songs because of his controversy with
I don't know
Rihanna
about
and everything. I think he beat her and was abusive and stuff. But a lot of people either don't know about it, or it just doesn't bother them, or they can still listen to it on the radio. But then those same friends will listen to Michael Jackson songs, whereas I will turn it off just because I have that association in my brain, and that's not an acceptable one in my head. And it spoiled the song for me. But that's not me saying nobody should listen to Michael Jackson and I hate people who put it on and stuff. It's just sort of an association in my brain that has spoiled it. So I don't know. It's sort of nothing that an artist created should be banned, I don't think, but it should just be about individual consumption.
Well, okay. Actually, there's one other caveat that I'd throw into that is if the artist is currently living and currently doing things that are horrible, and you're purchasing of the album
and you're supporting
gives them
that
money directly. It's different when you're talking about people who are dead, like Michael Jackson. Artists now, you really want to put money into their pockets if they're doing this really unethical thing. There's certainly an argument to be made there.
Yeah, good point. Do you think that came into the discussion when our parents were thinking about whether or not to let us listen to pop music? Or was it mostly about what pop music tends to be about, which is just sort of love usually, or sex?
Yeah, well kind of the going thought about that, I think, in our religious community was there's lyrics that are exposing you to ideas about, casualizing, if that's a word, sex, but also the beats and the rhythms and the music in some way is supposed to be sensuous and make you want to dance in a way that would lead you down the wrong path or something.
Britney Spears, they have a point. She led me down a dark path, I'll tell you that. All eyes on me in the center of the ring, just like a circus.
So you do know Britney Spears.
I know her now, and I'm not ashamed.
I should actually say Britney Spears, now that you mention it, was a name that I was aware of when I was younger. I remember I was hanging out with another homeschooled Orthodox kid, and we were at a restaurant somewhere. This is a pretty young memory, actually. I don't know the context, but I remember seeing written on the back of a little specials menu, somebody had written Britney Spears with a heart or something like that. And then I asked my friend, what's that? What's Britney Spears? And he said something like, oh, she's just a really bad artist or something like that, or a singer or something like that.
Well, true.
And then as I was, slowly exposed to the idea of Britney Spears, through, you'd occasionally see the name on a magazine cover or, hear a mention. And she just became kind of this sort of mythical, dirty, musical sex god in my mind, which I think actually Britney Spears had that position in a lot of people's minds back
Yeah, that's
then.
interesting, though, that she was the one that made it through.
Yeah, she occupied that space for me, even though I never listened to her music until we got unbridled internet access. And at one point, I remember going down late at night and watching a bunch of those music videos just to like see what it was all about.
What did you think?
I think I thought it was incredible. Like, I really liked it. I was just like wowed by like the incredible visuals. I'm sure I was titillated by it as as young as I was at the time as well. But just like the visuals of it, the beat, it was just like everything was just designed to like make you like move, and I don't know, it was like overwhelmed my.
I think she's not a great singer, but she's a great artist, and I like her dancing and stuff. But also, I'm willing to bet that the first time you experienced her music was through Nickel Creek.
Yeah, I can't remember the order. Maybe going to that Nickel Creek concert was what inspired me to go watch the videos. But if for those of you who don't know, Nickel Creek was probably our top musical idol of our childhood, and actually continues. I think they're amazing.
Yes, this episode not sponsored by Nickel Creek.
But that was like that would have been our like seriously our hero back then, and we got to go to a Nickel Creek concert, high school, middle school, I don't know, pretty young, and they played "Toxic" by Britney Spears, and the lead singer, who is a guy, sang it. It was amazing. And I thought, it was my musical hero, went up on the mic and said, honestly, we really do love Britney Spears, or something like that. And sorry again, Chris, if I'm misquoting you here. I'm assuming now, at this point, that Chris Thiele is listening to the episode.
Right. He's probably our only audience member, really. That one view, it's Chris.
He put like 8 comments on already too. It's crazy.
He's like, "Dear Nick, how dare you say I like Britney Spears? Your biggest fan, Chris."
Do you think? I can think of definitely for myself. I don't know what would be your corollary, but artists that I thought were kind of gods when I was young, that I kind of found out later in life were not really that famous. Nickel Creek was probably actually the most famous of them.
Yeah, were they famous at the time, or did they get famouser later?
No, I think they were like pretty famous at the time. They had like one song that made it onto country radio stations for like a minute.
Yeah. Makes sense.
But a lot of the artists that I listened to, like especially when I got into jazz, like, Michael Brecker, Chris Potter, like saxophone players that were just like world class jazz musicians. I'm pretty sure it turns out that they were just like dorky nerds like me and you.
And they just like had this amazing album just shredding on the saxophone and
I'm sure they went and performed for very like niche, specialized, like large jazz art audiences. But like, I guess I kind of just maybe assumed that everybody knew about these people and that they were world famous, and then to just meet them later in life, or go to a concert at a little, like I went to a Chris Potter concert at a college campus, and it was just this little room and not that many people there, and he was just fucking shredding.
Man, that's always the way. Like, was it Noam Pickleney? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Like, we went and saw this concert. There were like 20 people there. He's literally the best banjo player in the world. Like, it blew my mind.
In the world.
It blew my mind just here in this town.
Yeah, so that's kind of an interesting realization, like, and that's definitely a product of our sheltering, is that we had heroes and they weren't famous people, and at some point we realized, oh, there are these people out there that have like incredible wealth and mythic status, household names that we were only vaguely aware of in our culture, and I don't know.
Yeah,
it's interesting to think about how not knowing about those people, or not regarding them in the same way that other people did, affected our development, and especially musical development.
Yeah. My biggest musical love for a long time was Joni Mitchell, I think.
Yeah.
Because I loved the lyrics and they really spoke to me emotionally. I listened to the album Blue a lot.
Well, she would have been actually pretty famous, I think. Probably.
She actually kind of is. really famous. I feel like everyone has heard of her, even if they don't listen to that style of music. But she's also spanned a lot of different genres with
She's
her.
also not famous in any of the same ways that someone like Lady Gaga
Exactly.
is famous.
Yeah, we just never, it was like any pop star, it's because they're usually selling like youth and beauty and movement and sensuality. And it's like, we were not taught to laud any of those things.
Yeah, Dad actually had a spiel that he would repeat from time to time that was basically like, our culture, values youth and beauty, and it's all a facade, and everything only is so short-lived, and we regard, in the Orthodox tradition, we hold in much higher regard, age and wisdom and, ancient knowledge and that sort of thing. So
Yeah. I think it's cool to appreciate pop stars and appreciate the talent and production value and like everything that they give to society. But also, yeah, it's true. They do promote unrealistic standards of beauty and stuff sometimes. I don't
and
know.
lifestyles, well, unhealthy and just parties all the time and
Yeah,
unrealistic for most people.
I'm glad that I was able to like learn from Joni Mitchell lyrics and studying them instead of, idolizing Britney Spears. But I'm also glad that I get to listen to Britney Spears songs now and watch her cool videos.
Yeah, for sure.
Our parents really encouraged us to listen to a lot of different variety of music as long as it was within classical boundaries or blues or jazz boundaries.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to remember. I don't remember specifically trying to listen to things and having to fight against rules. Like I think I've said before also that I was very acquiescent to many of the restrictions that we had on us, and I would have agreed that that it's a bad idea to listen to some of these pop artists that were so famous. I would have, because of my parents' opinion, also been like repulsed by the idea of the message that they were pushing. Would have never listened to Eminem, and so for me it was I listened to the music that our parents listened to, which was folk music, old time bluegrass, and classical music, a lot of Beethoven, very, very few classic rock. I think they might have listened to the Eagles.
I feel like earlier they were more strict about that, but then as we got a little older, they started listening to the Beatles and the Eagles.
That was later on, because they would have associated those artists like the Beatles with the hippie era, the debauchery from their perspective, that they would have just gone, left behind to become Orthodox, to start down this new conservative religious path. And so they would have seen any listening to like the Rolling Stones or the Beatles or, rock artists from their era as sort of a slip into that old way of life that they were leaving behind. So it took them a while to be okay with getting back into some of it, I think.
Yeah, probably so. And also, I mean, to be fair, a lot of their songs are about drugs and stuff. And it just depends on how you look at it. Like, is that going to negatively impact your kid? More possible they won't even really understand what it means.
Yeah.
So,
No.
I don't know. How important is it to protect from that? I don't know, but I could also see the instinct, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you want to talk about Beyonce, or do we want to go on to socialism of the day?
Oh, Beyonce. I love her, and it was worth every penny when I went to her concert.
I forgot you went to a Beyonce concert.
Yes,
This is,
I
of
did.
course, later in life, not as a kid.
Yes, and I've always loved her. I discovered her, I believe, most in college when I was getting my associate's degree. Yeah, she was amazing, and I just love how talented she was, and she would do like this soft, beautiful singing, but also hardcore, more badass and woman power, and I really liked that as well. But yeah, I got to go and see a concert, and actually as a connective thread of this whole discussion, she performed Purple Rain because Prince had just recently passed away when I went to that concert.
Oh, no kidding. Had you
Yeah.
heard the Prince version of Purple Rain by that point? Or
I
this
had.
was pre-exposure? Oh, man, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Our parents probably didn't want us to listen to, at least Mom didn't want us to listen to Beyonce because she knew that we would have discovered that she is the mother. She's all of our mothers.
She is the mother of the world and
The
also the
quintessential
goddess,
mother
or
goddess
the queen.
figure. I mean, judging from her current work and videos, I think she definitely sees herself that way. And who are we to disagree?
It's hard to say if she's just like leaning into the image that she has now because people idolize her, or if that's what she's cultivating now. I don't know. But I did enjoy Black is King. I thought it was really
Oh yeah, I mean,
good.
just visually
Unrelated.
incredible. Yeah,
just amazing, beautiful, cool message, very empowering.
yeah, and we're just throwing that out there to show how far we've come, and that we are up to the minute now.
Yeah, and we know what Tiger King is, sort of.
You know, by the time people listen to this, no one will know what Tiger King is anymore.
Damn it! How does pop culture work?
It's incredible. Like, it moves so fast, and if you don't read the right magazines or follow the right people on the socials, you will be left in the fucking dust.
But then how do you know which ones are going to stick around in the long run?
It doesn't matter. You just get on the bandwagon, and then you get off the bandwagon when the wheel breaks. And then you pretend like you always hated them, or whatever. I don't know. I'm fortunate to have my wife who keeps in touch with some of this stuff and is able to keep me abreast of some of the latest trends.
You are lucky for many reasons.
Thank you.
Well, I feel like we've sort of covered a lot of our pop culture ideas about music from our youth and stuff. Should we move on to a discussion of the Socalism of the day, which will be a dadless episode of Socalism of the Day?
Another one. Yeah.
Semi-dadless.
Socalism of the day.
Yeah, Dad is going to pervade all the Socalisms of the day in one way or the other. But yeah, this one is where we're going to talk about, well, we're going to keep talking about music, but like there are some unique things that happened in our family that I think are pretty rare in the common culture related to music that really had us, you know, we've talked so far about what didn't shape our musical ideas back then. Let's talk about what did shape our musical development.
Okay, 4-part harmonies. We could do it. We had bass, we had tenor, we had alto, myself, of course. Actually, just kidding. I was the soprano at the time. Mom was the alto.
I think I was the tenor, and of course, as many young boys do, I had an awkward period where I started losing a little bit of interest in the family 4-part harmonies.
Yeah.
Because my voice was changing and I ended up having the same range as Dad, more of a baritone bass.
Mm-hmm. But then I started singing the tenor.
Well, we had younger siblings too that were coming up and they were learning how to sing as well. So the choir sort of shifted a generation down.
Mm-hmm. But it was all fun. And then, of course, Nick, he can never hear music being created and not join in immediately in some way. And so unless he's appropriately, at a concert, but he'll always, even then, he'll be drumming. But he'll always like bring out his mandolin or something and just add this incredible instrumental, even if he's not singing as we're playing. And Dad played the guitar, of course.
Mm-hmm. Mom played the spoons and the recorder.
Yeah. And The Sound of Music is another one of those movies that we were allowed to watch when we were younger. I don't know if we mentioned that one last time.
No, people called us the Von Sokol, and we understood that reference.
Yeah, because it was the Von Trapp family singers, and we were like, yeah, we're totally...
Our 4-part harmonies were kind of famous among friends and family, church members. So if we went to a party or a Christmas dinner or something like that, we were often asked to lead or perform Christmas carols. We had a whole packet of Christmas carols that we would get out every year, and not Christmas carols, but like 4-part little arrangements of choral Christmas-related music.
Yeah, we liked doing rounds and stuff like that. We liked the sort of challenging ones.
Yeah. Well, and Mom and Dad sort of brought this to us through before they had us, they were in a different church and they were a part of a choir. And so Dad memorized some of the parts from those songs. So we kept on singing those choir songs. But there were some ones that they would reference that we actually never learned the actual song to. But they were in an actual choir. And in that choir, I think they did musical exercises which were designed to help them sing the songs better. So they would do these little goofy sounding exercises.
Oh, I'm familiar. I'm
Yeah.
intimately familiar.
And then we never learned the actual song. We just like they had a song called, well, the actual line I think was "Smile Thou Sweetheart," but they all had to sing it as "Mile Thou Weedart." And so we would go around singing "Mile Thou Weedart."
Yeah, Dad did that a lot with, I feel like he would just sing fake lyrics a lot.
What they knew what they were doing when they sang "Butt Ho."
But ho! But ho!
That's from another one of those old choir songs. I do not know what the song is, but it must be an old song because it's "But Ho." That, of course, we didn't realize at the time that, a butt ho was a different thing.
Well, what is it?
Types into Urban Dictionary.
Define butt hoe.
A tilling device used in farming that inserts into the anus and drags behind the wearer to plow furrows
Oh no.
into fields. That's what a butthole is.
Thank you, Urban Dictionary. Or should I say Urban Nictionary? Yeah. I feel like obviously we were able to just sort of gather around the campfire. We went camping a lot as kids, and
That was all of our vacations.
music. Yeah, all of our vacations was just drive up somewhere and go camping, and it was amazing. Sometimes we'd have our harmonicas while we were out there, which was really fun because none of us knew how to ever play the harmonica. But we were all musical enough to just make it sort of sound good. So we were just like, tweet, 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 tweet. And we would sing around the campfire, but we would also make like found instruments from around the woods or wherever we happened to be.
Yeah, like the driftwood marimbas, where you
Yeah,
lay two
yeah.
logs, not quite parallel, and you get concentrically or consecutively larger pieces of driftwood to lay along it to make sort of a
Yeah,
makeshift
and why
marimba.
driftwood?
Well, that's usually like smooth and dried out, didn't have any bark on it.
It's kind of hollowed, so
it's
it
got
has
a little bit of
more,
a boop
yeah,
sort of sound.
tonal sound. Yeah.
And somebody would just start, and then I would come in like,
And then Dad would be like, free jazz.
yeah. Well, that was free jazz and, well, I should say avant-garde music and just dissonant sounding jazz was my musical rebellion.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, that was, like a lot of kids got into like, I don't know, Nirvana or something, or Linkin Park if they wanted to listen to something edgy, or Eminem. They wanted to piss off their parents. But I got into, listening to Miles Davis and John Coltrane and some just
Wow.
really out jazz albums.
'Cause it was like they couldn't tell you not to listen to it just because they didn't like it or they didn't understand it. Like,
Yeah, there was no like moral reason to not allow me to listen to Interstellar Space by John Coltrane. And
yeah.
I'm not sure what appealed to me. Well, I'm sure it was my deep sense of elitism that's come up here before, musical elitism, that I thought it was like the most serious and intellectually interesting form of music out there was free jazz. So, Dad made fun of me all the time. Anytime I did anything weird or out of the box, he would just stop and cut it out with that free jazz, Nick.
Yeah, but I feel like it never stopped us. So it felt really playful, I feel like.
Yeah.
He kind of liked it,
Well, yeah, and the instinct comes straight from him, so
Yeah, exactly. He's a free jazz guy.
a lot of that 4-part harmonies that we used to singing in the church choir, a lot of that playing, singing bluegrass songs together. I mean, that was where we developed the kind of harmony skills. Well, where we learned how to make music like what we have made for this podcast.
Yeah, I feel like it definitely was super fundamental. Even though Dad, I feel like he started learning music really kind of late in life, like learning to play the guitar and stuff. And he always wished that he had started learning much younger, which is why he always was really encouraging of all of us to like start learning these skills such as language and music and stuff really young, because that was when he knew it would be easiest for us.
Yeah.
And he was really right. It really built a lot of foundations, like taking piano and playing all of these instruments together and learning to read 4-part harmony music. It's been amazingly helpful in, I feel like, probably both of our lives, musical lives. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of musicians really struggle with things like transposing or things like playing in different keys or things like composing because they're just not used to it. And we were reading in different clefs even when we were, young and stuff. So I feel like it was really helpful. I mean, you, of course, my composing to me comes in a very stilted and short-lived way. I can do like little jingles and I can, do funky little rhythms, but I can't really do a good piece of music. But your composing dreams started young and went pretty far, I feel like.
Well, I mean, I enjoy writing music. I don't write large ensemble pieces or anything like that.
Anymore.
But I did write, I think my first large composition or arrangement was in middle school jazz band. I was writing songs for my eighth grade for my jazz band to play and perform. And the band director was really nice, and he let us actually perform them, despite having weird things like a 10-bar saxophone solo that was in there. And that seems like an odd length of time for a sax solo, Nick. You're right. Let's just put a repeat on there and make it a 20-bar saxophone solo.
Oh, no! Were you the one who got the saxophone solo?
Of course. For the non-musicians out there, music is generally phrased in bars, or Western music, I should say, is most often phrased in 4 or 8 bars. So every,
Or
length
16.
tend to be multiples of 4 or 8. So it
Unless
was definitely
you're weird.
So I would be in our basement, composing music on finale sometimes all day. And I remember Dad or Mom yelling down the stairs, telling me to come up and eat. And they would make jokes. They would quote that old Christmas, "Eat, Papa, eat."
Who ever heard of a skinny Santa or the skinny Nicholas? Oh, yeah, because I guess that makes sense, because your name is Nick, as in Saint Nick.
Oh, shit.
They were ahead of us the whole time.
What? They definitely understood Oppy then.
Damn it. So many secrets.
Oh, man. Well, if we don't move on to pointless conjecture, we are going to run out of time here. And
All right.
I've got a question burning a hole in the back of my Google Doc.
Oh, no. That's not where a Google Doc needs a hole. All right, well, let's move on then to today's pointless conjecture. Pointless conjecture. All right, well, let's save that Google Doc, and you go first.
Before that hole breaks the internet, and there's a hole through the internet that is a portal to... I mean, do we really want to know what's on the other side of that?
I mean, it's probably like a lot of pervs, right?
God, yeah, there's like an eye looking back at me, and someone's breathing. Get out of here! All right.
Oh, that's just your FBI agent.
Oh, right. I'm going to ask you a really easy question today. But if you were head of product development and a major fast food chain, what crazy food would you come up with? I mean, this is food that drunk and high people are going to be eating late night. Take for inspiration, like the taco made out of Dorito chips at Taco Bell.
Yeah. I think KFC came up with a fried chicken as a bun for a burger situation one time, which seems like brilliant. And they've also done that with a taco. They used fried chicken as a taco.
Oh my Lord. All right. So now you have been given your dream job in the marketing firm that is going to come up with the next big food item for KFC or Taco Bell or something like that. Your promotion, you're gonna come up with a promotion, and you're like, oh man, I gotta beat fried chicken shell.
Okay. I have to think about like which franchise. Would I want to go like a burger franchise or like a taco or like a sandwich?
Just come up with the food, and then you can decide where it would go later.
Can it be like a fantasy food or does it have to be like real life?
It can be fantasy food. Yeah, anything you want. Doesn't even have to be a real food.
There's so many foods floating around in my brain, all begging to be combined. But I feel like the thing is, what's missing in fast food is like a sort of Mediterranean flavor.
Oh.
So I think I would want to do like a fried, maybe like a crispy like pita pocket that's like filled with feta and tomatoes and basil and like chicken and stuff like that. And then like sealed up and then fried. So it's kind of crispy like a pita chip. And then it would be served with like a cool dip of some kind, like a cool flavorful dip.
Oh man, that actually sounds really good. You took this in a more serious direction than I was expecting.
Well, I guess I asked about fantasy food, but then I just thought about what I would actually like.
Yeah, God, like cherry tomatoes and basil and like sort of a creamy sauce with feta and yogurt, and it's like fried in a fucking pita.
Yeah.
Damn.
Sounds good, right? And then you could even probably get like a vegetarian option with a hummus dip if you wanted.
Wow. That doesn't sound like something that, not the hummus thing, but the pita thing. It doesn't sound like something that would be easy to mass produce from out of a freezer and a deep fryer.
Yeah, true. I mean, maybe
You can just work with things that they already have. Like, how do we combine like a milkshake and chicken tenders and French fries or something, you know? Like maybe a bowl that's made, an ice cream bowl made of fried chicken or something like that.
So I don't know how you would do this, but French fries that are like, they're like a potato meal that you like press around like frozen stick of milkshake. And then you have it shaped perfectly like a fry, like a kind of a thick fry. And then you fry it, and then the inside gets like just molten but still cold. And then the outside is like a crispy fried potato.
Yeah, this is like kind of like fried ice cream, but with also French fries. French fried ice cream. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's brilliant.
Okay, all right, that's pretty good. Well, and then part 2 of this question is also, what are some of the differences between a burrito and a churro and a torpedo?
It's a 3-parter difference question. I feel like a churro, if I'm ranking them on deliciousness, a churro is like the most delicious in terms of crispy, crunchy, sweet, and saltiness.
What about a burrito, a fried burrito with churros inside it?
That sounds pretty good. But the look on your enemies' faces when you hit them with a torpedo is the most delicious thing of all.
Wow. You know what? Yeah, I'm not going to be able to top that. Nice work.
All right. Shall I force thee to pointlessly conjecture?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right. If you were friends with like a mad scientist, like Rick from Rick and Morty, for instance, who is basically like a technology god and can literally build anything out of technology.
Okay.
With technology. Would you rather have a teleporter that could take you anywhere in any galaxy safely, like you arrive in an oxygenated, suit, so you're safe, but you arrive like with no pants on, like your dingus is out.
Okay. Yeah.
Wherever you are.
Easy to imagine. I'm there.
A time travel machine with paradox protection equipment installed.
Ooh.
So there's a possibility your actions in a different time will impact the rest of history, but it will not have negative consequences on you and your existence.
Well, thank you for thinking that through. I appreciate that.
So which would you rather have created for you?
Wait, what's the downside of the time travel paradox one?
Just your actions could impact all of history. That seems like a pretty powerful downside if you fuck up.
Okay, until you got to that last part about fucking up. Where's the downside? Yeah, like, Holocaust, see you later. Genghis Khan, bye. I don't know.
You're just going to end every tragedy that ever happened.
Can I keep going back and just trying different things to see what turns out best?
Well, no, it would be irreparably changed unless you went back to change yourself changing it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that sounds pretty bad. And then, or I could just show up anywhere in the universe with my pants off.
Yeah, like you could transport yourself to Paris or Jupiter or Nebuland 3000.
Yeah, that's better. I mean, it's just simpler. You get into time travel. If movies and TV are any guide, it's just not a place you want to end up. It causes more problems than it solves. While it would be incredibly interesting to be a fly on the wall, man, you could answer some really important questions if you could travel anywhere in the universe.
That's the thing, like if you went and traveled and didn't change anything, if you had that control, then it might be a more interesting option. And you wouldn't really want to travel to Paris right now anyway.
Have you seen Interstellar? You should be aware also that time travel or space travel is sometimes also time travel. You get next to an item with a really massive gravity. Time moves differently in that environment, and so even if you could get transported there instantly, there's definitely like weird time dilation effects that could happen.
No, it would be like a wrinkle in time. They explain it very clearly.
I think if we had to compare the scientific validity of Wrinkle in Time versus Interstellar, I would have to say...
Just because one has witches in it.
Well, we'll go with Wrinkle in Time. So we just fold space-time like a napkin and find ourselves landed neatly on some other point in space with my pants off. You're likely to encounter an alien if you encounter anything that's alive.
Mm-hmm.
An alien that they won't know any better. They won't know that the pants are off. They won't have any expectations. So, I would just be establishing a precedent.
Yeah.
And I think that could be a really healthy thing for the universe as a whole. If humans start presenting themselves in other places without pants on, at that point, you can't go back. It's like, are we going to show up with pants? Well, that's going to weird them out. They're like, well, why are you covering up your body?
Yeah, like, are you hiding something from us? Like,
yeah. And they'll instantly slaughter you because they'll be so suspicious.
I could see it happening exactly that way.
So you gotta go like full pants off, and that's just the precedent that we established for the universe. I will travel to every place that I can go to that's populated and present myself as the first human with no pants on just to make that a thing in the universe now.
Yeah, sex positivity in the universe.
Genitals positivity.
Free the genitals.
Free the genitals.
Just kidding. I kind of actually don't want that. I am a fan of free the nipple, but I'm a fan of containing the genitals.
That's true. That's true, right? For hygienic purposes.
Exactly. Yeah. I would rather you have a pair, like a Speedo in your space backpack that you are carrying around with you.
Well, what about maybe clear pants? Like clear Speedo or some sort of transparent material on your lower half.
Sure, that would be fine. You can bring saran wrap with you.
Imagine a world where humans just walk around in saran wrap on their bodies.
What a world.
Yeah, well, I think that's just about enough of that.
Yeah, should we end with a little serenade from young Nick's mind?
Are you referring to the very first song I ever wrote?
I'd like you to sing it, note for note.
I will tell you that I do not remember very much of that song at all. However, I remember the chorus, which is just one phrase repeated over and over.
What about... searching for answers without rest?
My whole life is a constant quest.
Da, 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 da.
I need to know, I need to know, I need to know. Yeah, which is funny.
It's beautiful.
Because that would have been when I was very young. I think I was probably 12 years old, writing it's that song, singing along with an acoustic guitar, and super cheesy. And I remember the lyrics are written from the perspective of someone who's like questioning their religion and trying to like learn the answer to like where everything came from. And there's one line that goes, who made all the seasons, summer, winter, spring, and fall. Oh my god. So yeah, and those are questions that I certainly wouldn't have really been asking myself, but I think me as a young songwriter was just like, what sorts of things do people sing about, you know?
Well, and Chris Thiele, to tie back to our first topic, Chris Thiele had also written a few songs questioning faith, like Doubting Thomas and stuff like that. That was around 12, 13, 14.
I think that would have been a little later, actually.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, I think this was before that album by Nickel Creek came out, if I'm remembering right.
What about Deceiver, the solo album?
Yeah, I think that's also later. I think this is...
All right, never mind. It was just young Nick.
This was before, actually, I was even knew about Nickel Creek, I think.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't even play the mandolin at this time, I don't think.
Huh.
Yeah, it would have been younger than 12, actually. Might have been 9 or 10.
Yeah, much younger,
This is like
I would say.
me just learning how to play the guitar and learning a few chords and then writing this song to go with it.
Yeah, the very first. That's amazing. I need to know.
Because I have to pee right now, we've been recording for a while. I'm remembering that people used to make fun of the song that I wrote. Whenever they had to use the bathroom, it was, I need to go, I need to go.
I need to go pee.
That is my real musical legacy and what I will leave you all with today.
Well, this has been the news from La La Land, where the tones are dulcet.
And the marimbas go. Dunk, dunk, dunk.
The theme music for this podcast was written and recorded by Nick and Sarah Sokol. And the music you are hearing right now was performed by the band Nuage on their album Neuf, available now on iTunes and Spotify. News from La La Land is a production of Voice of Sokol. To learn more about Voice of Sokol and the rest of Sarah's creative content and services, visit voiceofsokol.com. Thanks so much for listening, and please drop us a line at voiceofsokol@gmail.com. We would love to hear your feedback.